Today, we are going to discuss Wordnet and words and disambiguation. Words and disambiguation is known to be an extremely important problem in natural language processing. This is almost the holy grail of natural language processing, because most words in natural language are ambiguous, and it is amazing that human beings can comprehend sentences and texts in spite of the multiple meanings of words, and they can identify the correct meanings of the words from the context and from the way the text is used. So, we will discuss Wordnet, a very important lexical resource for the purpose of words and disambiguation, and the techniques for words and disambiguation. So, first of all, what is a Wordnet? Wordnet is a lexical knowledge base based on conceptual lookup. It organizes lexical information in terms of word meanings rather than word forms, and the main use in natural language processing for Wordnet is the words and disambiguation. So, several important points are made in this slide. Wordnet, first of all, is a lexical knowledge base. That means, it is a knowledge base where information, properties and linkages of words are stored, and it is based on conceptual lookup, which means that the fundamental unit which is searched in the Wordnet is a concept rather than a word. We will elaborate this particular point as we go ahead, but as opposed to a dictionary, what happens is that the fundamental unit of information that is obtained from the Wordnet is a meaning unit, and we have to of course explicate what we mean by the meaning unit and how it is represented, but that will come little later, and this is the distinguishing point of the Wordnet. Okay? The lookup is in terms of meaning unit rather than word, and the lexical information is organized in terms of meaning rather than the word form, again to be elaborated as we go ahead. And of course, the main use in natural language processing of this very important resource has been word sense disambiguation. Now, this whole structure is based on an interesting psycholinguistic theory. So, as this particular slide shows, human lexical memory for nouns at least is stored as a hierarchy. All right. So, the fact that the words are stored in the human memory is of course an obvious fact, but how are they stored? Are they stored as unconnected units of information, or is there a structure in the way they are stored? So, here is a structure shown on the screen. Canary is the name of a bird, C-A-N-A-R-Y, that is the word form, and it is a type of bird, and that is why this is the note which is above canary. And bird is a kind of animal, which therefore is a chain now, canary, bird, animal. The properties are stored alongside the nodes. Animal, for example, can move, animal has skin, birds they can fly, not all animals can fly, therefore, only this node is associated with this information, can fly. Canary is a bird which can sing, not all birds can sing, therefore, we store this information, can sing with canary. Now, an experiment was performed where a human subject was asked these questions: can canary sing, can canary fly, does canary have skin? Okay. So, you can see in this information base, if we look for these pieces of information, then the first question, can canary sing, can be immediately answered from the canary node itself. because it stores directly the fact that canary can sing. Can canary fly? This is not stored in this particular node, it is stored in the node above, which is the hypernymy of canary, or the general the more general concept in which the concept of canary is subsumed. So, can fly is stored in the bird node, and it can be answered as yes, because canary being a bird inherits all the properties of bird. Finally, does canary have skin? These cannot be answered from canary node nor from the bird node, but only from the animal node, where has skin is stored, and bird and canary being the descendants of animal inherit all the properties in that node, and therefore, we can answer to the affirmative that canary does have skin. Now, these three questions you can see are answered from the canary's node, then one level of ascendance, and then two levels of ascendance for the third question. So, when we ourselves answer this question by looking at this diagram, we take some time for answering whether canary can sing, but this is an immediate lookup from the canary node. Then we need some time for ascending to bird and more time for ascending to animal. So, this particular fact also holds true when human beings answer these questions by accessing their own memory in their brains. So, it is seen that can canary sing elicits a fast response, a pretty fast response, because this is being accessed from the node canary itself. Can canary fly? Slightly slower response, because ascending the hierarchy is involved in this. Does canary have skin? Has the slowest response, because one needs to go up the hierarchy up to animal. So, there is lot of evidence to say that the nouns in human memory are organized as a hierarchy, okay, which is why we have a fast to slower to slowest response in answering these three questions. So, the time for response cannot be explained unless we have this hypothesis that the nouns are organized as a hierarchy. So, from this one can now take a look into the Wordnet lexical knowledge base, and it is a lexical reference system which is based on psycholinguistic theories of human lexical memory. Now, proceeding further, we now discuss a very fundamental concept in Wordnet or in computational semantics or lexical semantics, the concept of lexical matrix. So, this is a matrix where the columns are word forms, which means words like dog, cat, bank, river, procrastination, deference, okay, all these words stay as word forms, no reference to their meanings, but barely the word forms are placed here one after the other in the column. One could follow some order, it could be, for example, the lexical order. We have the word starting with A in the first column, then in the second column A in a lexicographic order, and so on and so forth. What is more complex is the row. Row stores the meanings M1, M2, M3 up to MM. So, there are FN word forms and MM meanings. Now, the rows indicate meanings. So, for example, suppose the first row gives a meaning of apple. So, there is some identifier for the apple meaning of apple, the fruit meaning. Okay. Suppose that identifier is 00001, the first meaning from the meaning repository, and this meaning is manifested as apple here, let us say. This meaning is manifested as another word on the same row which is synonymous to apple and has the meaning of fruit apple. Okay. So, all those words which stand for this meaning appear here, okay, or we place some indication 1, 0 or tick to say that for this meaning this is the word, for this meaning this is the word, and so on. So, let me write it down and take an example. So, I draw a lexical matrix here. I just put a few words, say I put apple here. So, this is the form axis, so to say, and this is the meaning dimension. Okay. So, we have here meanings. So, let us say we have apple, bank, cat, depend, eye, figure, and so on, so forth. So, all the English words appear in the columns, and here are the meaning, say 00001, 002, 0099, and so on. So, suppose this is the fruit meaning of apple, then here we will put a tick here. Suppose this is the depend meaning of bank. So, we put a tick here and a tick here. So, this means that this is the depend meaning of bank, and the meaning is expressed by bank here and depend here. Okay. So, if we look at the slide once again, if I concentrate on a column, then for a particular word these are the meanings. So, the cells in that column below the word express what is called the polysemy of the word, that is multiple meanings of the word, and words along the row for a particular meaning express synonymy. Okay. So, this is expressed here, synonymous words along the row, polysemy along the column. Okay. So, Wordnet is a network of words linked by lexical and semantic relations. Here are some facts about various Wordnets in the world. The first Wordnet in the world was for English, which was developed at Princeton over 15 years. The Euro Wordnet, which is a linked structure of European language Wordnets, was built in 1998 over 3 years with funding from the European Commission as a mission mode project. Wordnets for Hindi and Marathi are being built at IIT Bombay. Hindi Wordnet is very mature and is amongst the first Indian language Wordnets. This is being widely used around the world, and all these Wordnets of Indian languages are proposed to be linked into Indo Wordnet, which will be eventually linked to English and Euro Wordnets. So, here is a picture which holds for the Wordnet building activity across the country in India. So, the first Wordnet to be built was the Hindi Wordnet, which is shown at the center. Hindi Wordnet has been linked for many of its insets with the English Wordnet. Marathi Wordnet is being created at IIT Bombay. Sanskrit Wordnet is being created at IIT Bombay. Urdu Wordnet is being created at many places, namely Jawaharlal Nehru University, University of Hyderabad, in Lahore. Bengali Wordnet is being created in West Bengal, in Indian Statistical Institute. Also, Bengali Wordnet is being created at IIT Kharagpur, then Bangladesh, and also by a group in Japan. Dravidian language Wordnets are being created in southern part of the country. Punjabi Wordnet is being created in Patiala. Northeast languages Wordnets are being created in the northeastern part of the country. Konkani Wordnet is being built at Goa. So, these are Indian language Wordnets, all of them are linked and aligned with the Hindi Wordnet, and this gives rise to a massive Wordnet structure for Indian languages called the Indo Wordnet, and this will finally be linked with European Wordnet and fully with the Princeton Wordnet for English. Now, when building Wordnet, we ask a fundamental design question. This question pertains to syntagmatic versus paradigmatic relations. So, we will explain the meaning of syntagmatic and paradigmatic relations. Actually, we will write down the definition. So, we say words are syntagmatically related if they appear together in same syntagma, that is syntactic unit, typically a sentence. Okay. So, words are said to be syntagmatically related if and only if they appear together in the same syntagma, that is syntactic unit, typically a sentence. For example, a dog barks loudly. A dog barks loudly. So, dog and bark appear in the same sentence. So, syntagmatically related. Similarly, two words are said to be paradigmatically related if and only if they appear linked in a lexical resource. Linked in a lexical resource. Okay. Again, I take an example. Here is the example. So, we saw that bird, canary and animal. So, the words animal, bird, canary, they appear linked. Okay. This link is called hypernymy, which we will explain very soon, means generalization. Okay. So, animal is a more general concept than bird, bird is a general concept than more general concept than canary. So, the words canary, bird and animal are linked by means of generalization, specialization link, and therefore, they are paradigmatically related. Okay. So, syntagmatically related words appear together in sentences, phrases, large textual units, maybe larger textual units, and they are said to occur in a corpus together. On the other hand, paradigmatically related words appear together in a lexical resource. Okay. Let us say resource of synonyms, for example, a thesaurus or the Wordnet, which is a complex structure of meaning units. Okay. So, syntagmatic versus paradigmatic relations is a fundamental design question, and psycholinguistics is the basis of the design of the Wordnet. So, the whole point is that when we hear a word, many words come to our mind by association. For example, when I hear the word cat, the word animal, mammal, they come to the mind. Words like mew, purr, furry, these words also come to the mind. The first two words, animal and mammal, they come because of paradigmatic association. Cat, animal and mammal appear together in a lexical knowledge base, whereas the words mew, purr and furry, they come because of syntagmatic association. So, we have seen phrases like or sentences like a cat mews, a cat purrs, or a phrase like a furry cat. Okay. So, these are examples of phrases and sentences formed by words which appear syntagmatically together. So, now the question that arises is should one store syntagmatically related words or paradigmatically related words in the Wordnet, because word association is what is captured in the Wordnet, meaning association, word association. Therefore, the question that naturally arises is syntagmatic association or paradigmatic association should be stored. Now, you might say that there is circularity in this statement, okay, because we are defining paradigmatically related words as the words which appear together in a lexical resource, and now we are asking should lexical resources store paradigmatic or syntagmatic words. Isn't it true that a lexical resource by definition is a repository of paradigmatically related words? So, this is correct. However, the point being made is that one has to be conscious, a Wordnet builder has to be conscious that paradigmatically related words should go into the lexical resource. However, we do find syntagmatically related words also, because the Wordnet also links words which are across parts of speech. So, the word mew would be linked with the word cat, bark would be linked with the word dog, okay, by a number of semantic relations, which we have to see as we go ahead. So, the Wordnet primarily stores paradigmatic relations, but it also stores some syntagmatically related words. Now, the stated fundamental application of Wordnet is sense disambiguation, which in short is the determination of the correct sense of the word. So, here there are two sentences: the crane ate the fish versus the crane was used to lift the load. And in the first case, the crane ate the fish, crane is used in the sense of the word, and the crane was used to lift the load, here crane is used in the sense of a machine. Now, we come to an important problem in this area, the area of lexical semantics, the problem of sense tagging. Given a corpora, we have to assign correct sense to the words, and this particular problem is called sense tagging. It does need word sense disambiguation, and it is highly important for question answering, machine translation, text mining tasks, etc., etc. Now, from the tagged corpora of senses, by applying machine learning algorithms, we can build a word sense disambiguation engine. Okay. So, now when we look at the words, we have to assign senses to them in the corpus. So, one question that arises is that what kind of words should be given this kind of sense identification. Okay. Now, it is known that words in a language are divided into two categories, namely content word and function word. So, content words are like verb, noun, adjective and adverb. These are content words. Function words are preposition, conjunction, pronoun, interjection. So, a language definitely has a repository of content words and function words. The main information load is carried by the content words, and out of them again nouns carry the maximum amount of information load, followed by verbs. Adjectives and adverbs come as qualifiers for nouns and verbs respectively. Function words, on the other hand, are closed category words. Okay. Such words define a language. Languages are very sensitive to their function words. They are the oldest units in a language, and one does not see very easily the addition or deletion of function words, whereas content words get created very frequently, especially through the exigency of new technological developments. So, for example, a new verb came after the Xerox machine was introduced, namely the verb Xeroxed. Okay, he Xeroxed a paper. So, here Xerox means copied, made a copy of, but made a copy of is through the Xerox machine, and therefore, Xeroxed as a verb has come to stay. Similarly, new nouns get created. For example, I introduced some new terms when in the introductory lecture for this course. A word like communifaking, where one is faking communication by holding the cell phone onto one's ears while not actually speaking into the phone is called communifaking. So, this new word, which is a verb, it came into existence because of the advent of the mobile technology. Similarly, because of the existence of Google, there is a new word, disambiguation. Disambiguation is the phenomenon of a person feeling very uncomfortable when he or she is not able to access the internet quickly. So, this is called disambiguation, discomfort due to not being able to Google. Prepositions are words like with, in, by, to and so on. Conjunctions are and, but, while. Pronouns are I, me, he, they. Interjection is oh, ha, etc., which express emotion. These lower level nodes show the content words and function words, and we are saying that function words are very much the defining units of a language. They do not change frequently. Now, it is true that sense marking is done mainly on content words for the particular sense. For example, if I take the node noun here, the word bank when it is a noun can have two senses, river bank or the place of finance where money is withdrawn from or deposited at. So, a noun like bank would require marking for the meaning identity when it appears in the corpus. Similarly, adjective, the word red, for example, red as an adjective is fine, it is a qualifier for a noun, a red car, for example. So, adjective is not a worry point, but adjectives also can be ambiguous and they need to be marked again. Examples of all this I show here in this slide. This is in Hindi and the English translation is given below. The sentence is, according to a new research, those people who have a busy social life have larger space in a part of the brain. So, there is in this new research which says that those people who have a busy social life have larger space in a part of the brain. And the corresponding Hindi is, एक नए शोध के अनुसार जिन लोगों का सामाजिक जीवन व्यस्त होता है उनके दिमाग के एक हिस्से में अधिक जगह होती है. So, this is the sentence. एक नए शोध के अनुसार जिन लोगों का सामाजिक जीवन व्यस्त होता है उनके दिमाग के एक हिस्से में अधिक जगह होती है. So, this sentence is given and you see that there are some marks here, some numerical entities placed beside the words, and what these are simply the IDs, the meaning IDs as they are stored in the Wordnet, and they are attached to the words. So, the word ek, for example, is ambiguous. Ek can have multiple meanings. Ek may mean the number ek or 1. Ek can be a qualifier as it is the case here. Ek naye shodh ke anusar. So, this new research is being qualified by 1. Similarly, shodh can have multiple senses. The sense which is of interest is 1130th numbers sense. Anusar can be ambiguous, but 3123 has been found appropriate here. Jin logo, log has come in the plural form here, and log can be very ambiguous. So, we see it in this slide. One meaning of log is log jan, lok janamanas public, एक से अधिक व्यक्ति लोगों के हित में काम करना चाहिए. So, the English inset is multitude, masses, mass, hoi polloi, people, the great, unwashed. Here, common people generally separate the warriors from the mass, power to the people. So, these are example sentences or phrases. So, the first meaning of log is the common people, masses, multitude. Another sense of log is the world, populace, public world, people in general considered as a whole. He is a hero in the eyes of the public. So, दुनिया की आँखों में वो बहुत ही वीर है. He is a hero in the eyes of the public. So, here the sense is dunya. So, you see the word log is an ambiguous word with two meanings, and the lexicographer, the person who has marked these senses, has put an identification here 1189, which is the meaning he thinks is appropriate for log in this context. Okay. So, from this it should be apparent to you that sense marking is a tough task. It is an involved complex task, because the person marking the senses will have to understand the meanings of the words absolutely accurately, will have to understand the sentence as a whole, will have to understand the domain of discourse, the exact domain in which this text is written. So, having understood all these points, the person is in a position to correctly identify the sense of the word and correctly put a tag expressing the meaning of the word. So, this entity that you see in front of you, namely sentences along with these kind of numbers attached to words, and sentences forming paragraph, paragraph forming a chapter, and so on. This example is known as the sense marked corpus to be used in natural language processing. So, first of all, corpus is an extremely valuable entity in natural language processing. Corpus means a coherent piece of text. So, let me define corpus, which is very important, a very important notion for us. It was mentioned in part of speech tagging when we did part of speech tagging. So, corpus is a collection of coherent text. Corpus is a collection of coherent text. Then you have pause marked corpus, where word categories are identified and marked. Sense marked corpus. Sense marked corpus are words along with their sense IDs. Okay. So, we have identified important concepts in natural language processing technique. Corpus, a collection of coherent text. Pause marked corpus, word categories are identified and marked. Sense marked corpus, words along with their sense IDs. All right. So, this is what is being shown in front of you, the Hindi sentences, their words and their sense identities. Now, we discuss the basic principle which is used in creating the Wordnet. So, first point to observe from which all this discussion started is that words in a natural language are polysemous. However, when synonymous words are put together, a unique meaning often emerges. So, this approach for disambiguation is the approach of relational semantics. Opposed to relational semantics is what is known as the componential semantics, where each word is looked upon as a bundle of semantic features. So, this is similar to the Shankian conceptual dependency framework or the lexical componential semantics framework. So, the competitor to Wordnet's basic principle, which is relational semantics, is componential semantics. Let us understand componential semantics first. We consider the two words cat and tiger. We first decide on what is called the componential attributes of the words. So, the attributes we have thought relevant are furry, whether the animal has fur or not; carnivorous, whether the animal eats meat or not; heavy, whether the animal is heavy or not; domesticable, whether the animal can be made a pet in the house. So, for cat, the answer to these four questions are as follows. Cat is a furry animal, it is a carnivorous animal, it is not heavy, and it is domesticable. For tiger, it is YYYN. That means, a tiger is a furry animal, it is a carnivorous animal, it is a heavy animal, but it is also carnivorous. So, the complete and correct attributes are however difficult to design. When we take the approach of componential semantics, we have to come up with the correct set of attributes. Here, the attributes which are shown are furry, carnivorous, heavy, and domesticable. The question that might arise is, how do you know that this is the appropriate set of attributes and this will serve the purpose the question of correct and complete set of attributes emerges. These attributes also are expressed by words, and these words themselves can be ambiguous. Okay. So, componential semantics, though attractive in its concept, is not so easy to implement because of the following two reasons. One is that the set of attributes need not be complete and correct. It may be difficult to come up with the set of attributes which distinguishes the words properly. And the next difficulty is that the attributes themselves are expressed by language words which have their own ambiguity. Okay. So, understanding the nuances of an attribute which will be done in exactly the same way by different persons is not an easy matter. Okay. So, this was componential semantics. Now, we mention and not elaborate the relationships in a wordnet. So, synonymy is the synonymy relationship between words. Hypernymy and hyponymy are generalization and specialization linkages. They hold between meanings in the wordnet. Antonymy is the opposition. Meronymy is part of relationship. Gradation is the graded antonymy relationship. Entailment is implication relationship. Troponymy is the manner of relationship. So, 1, 3 and 5, that is synonymy, antonymy and gradation, word to word. These are lexical relationships or word to word relationships, and the rest are semantic, that is synset to synset relationship. So, now we discuss this very fundamental building block of wordnet, namely the synset. This is the foundation for the creation of the wordnet. Here we have as example the word house, which is a very ambiguous word. The first meaning of house is a dwelling that serves as living quarters for one or more families. He has a house on Cape Cod. She felt she had to get out of the house. These are the example sentences. So, here is the meaning of house, which is a structure. The second meaning of house is this: an official assembly having legislative powers. The legislature has two houses. Okay. So, in England, for example, one has House of Lords and House of Commons. In India, there are again two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So, this is the second meaning of. The third meaning of house is a building in which something is sheltered or located. They have a large carriage house. So, this is again the structural meaning of the house, and it is not easy to see what the difference between 1 and 3 are. This meaning of house is very interesting in the sense of family. So, these words family, household, house, home, menage, these are synonymous words expressing the concept of family. The gloss here, that is the explanation of the concept, is this: a social unit living together. He moved his family to Virginia, or he moved his house to Virginia, moved house to Virginia. It was a good Christian household. So, you could also say it was a good Christian house. I waited until the whole house was asleep. The teacher asked how many people made up his home. So, one may not agree with all the example sentences, but what is clear from this assembly of words is that one means house to be a family. Theatre house, this is another meaning of house, a building where theatrical performance in motion picture shows can be represented. So, theatre house, this becomes the concept. House can also mean a business firm, where the synonyms are firm, business firm, members of a business organization that owns or operates one or more establishments. He worked for a brokerage house. House can also mean the aristocratic family line, the House of York. So, again 4 and 6, there is a slight difference, and one might 4 and 7, and one might argue that this sense of house in the sense of aristocratic family line could come below the fourth sense, which is the sense of family. So, aristocratic family line is a kind of family, therefore, 7 could be a hyponym of 4. Anyway, so these critics always appear for the synsets of any wordnet, We proceed with other senses of house. House can be the members of a religious community living together. House can be this meaning the audience gathered together in a house or cinema. This is the theatre sense of house, and looks like it is a repetition compared to the sense number 2. House also can mean a play in which children take the roles of father or mother or children and pretend to interact like adults. The children were playing house. Okay. So, in this case house becomes like a game played by small children. House can mean the sign of a zodiac, star sign or sign. For example, this is in astrology one of the 12 equal areas into which the zodiac is divided. So, for example, the house of Mercury, okay, the place which means the place for Mercury, house of Saturn, house of Jupiter, and so on and so forth. So, this is a completely different meaning of house, which is the zodiac meaning, astrological meaning. House can also mean the management of a gambling house or casino. The house gets a percentage of every bet. So, one sees here 12 senses of house, and one may not agree with all these senses and their location and their arrangements. However, it shows how much of care needs to be taken to express the fine meanings and nuances of a word. It is also possible that some sense actually does not belong there. This is a more restricted concept, just like we saw the aristocratic family is a restricted concept compared to family. So, it possibly should not appear at the same level as the sense of family. So, anyway, so these are the different senses of house, and if the senses are extremely fine grained, then it requires fine sense of meaning and a lot of other machinery to get at the correct nuance of the word. Okay. The finer the senses are separated, the more difficult it is for an algorithm to disambiguate them. Now, we discuss the creation of synsets in the Wordnet, and the creation of synsets follows 3 principles: principles of minimality, coverage, and replaceability. Let us understand what these principles mean. Suppose we have the word home. Home is shown with 2 different senses here by means of 2 examples. John's home was decorated with lights on the occasion of Christmas. Okay. So, this is one sense of home, as you can see if you compare this with the next sentence. Having worked for many years abroad, John returned home. Having worked for many years abroad, John returned home. So, this home has the meaning of motherland, one's own country, and this home has the meaning of building. Okay. The house, John's building, John's house here means a structure. So, this house was decorated with lights on the occasion of Christmas, and this home has the meaning of motherland. Now, we take the word house. John's house was decorated with lights on the occasion of Christmas. You can see here the word home can be replaced with house for conveying the same meaning, and here house has the meaning of a structure. Mercury was situated in the 8th house of John's horoscope, and this is a completely divergent sense of house. This does not agree with the motherland sense of home. So, we can express this by means of a diagram. So, we have here home, and home has a region of meaning around it. So, one meaning of home is the structure, another meaning of home is motherland, okay. And then house has another region of influence. This is for home and this is for house. So, this part is common, house as a structure, and this part has no commonality with home, where house is as a astrological position. Okay. So, from this diagram, isn't it obvious that we can put home and house together to mean the structure sense, and we can put home as a separate set to mean motherland, and we can put house as a separate set to mean astrological position. So, this is a fairly important concept. Let me just take you through the diagram once again as I have drawn it. This is the region, meaning region around the word house. House has a meaning of astrological position, which is shown here. House has the meaning of a structure, which is shown here. This intersects with the structure meaning of home, shown here, but then there is another meaning of home, which is motherland, which does not intersect with any meaning of house. So, home and house are put together as synonymous words, a set of synonyms meaning structure. Home is a singleton set with motherland meaning, and house is a singleton set with astrological position meaning. So, this forms the foundation for Wordnet, which we will elaborate in the next class.